Ladies and gentlemen, how are we?
Great.
Oh, we've got a blown out screen on Steve's side, but we are on air. Sorry, my machine just decided to reboot right at launch time for it. Gets screen. Sorry for this faux pas at my side. Bit of a technical glitch. Like he's almost on screen. There we go. There we go. Steve, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. We're definitely getting famous for our
Man, you wouldn't have
technology
thought,
glitches.
you'd never think we'd work with technology, would you? Never.
Clearly not this kind of
Oh
technology.
man, I love it. It's just like going
You still
large,
figured it
small,
out.
large, small, large, small. I'm just on the screen there. Yeah, not really what we intended. Yeah, we've got you stuck there. Certain side. You froze. Now you seem frozen. Are you?
Anybody?
Say that again.
Yet? Listening yet?
Ridiculous. There we go. Freeze.
There we
Hold
just.
it right there. Let's see. Anyhow, talk to me, Steve. What's been top of mind this week?
Just issue that's out there that's caused the most noise, at least that I've been hearing about, was Microsoft's announcement to eliminate the IURs from from everything really. That's got a lot of folks quite quite up in arms.
Yeah, got people a bit upset. Aren't they? Why do
Yeah. I'm actually.
I know that you intended that to be part of our session today, right? That you wanted to do a bit of a chat about whether I was going to verse you on this.
Live now. Yeah, I'm actually opening up our live stream to see if we're even out there. Oh, we are out there.
I can see that we're online. We've got nobody out there with us, but we're online. You know what I'm missing? I cannot see. That's what I do need to bring up.
So it does seem like we do have some people out there because we're getting some questions.
There you go. I don't even have the question stream up. 1 second. I love technology.
That's all right. Okay, I'll repeat it.
Handle
Emmett, can we explain what an IUR is and why people are upset? Hi, by the way. IUR is an acronym for Introduce Rights. This is something that Microsoft partners have used for many years. Microsoft are partners with free use of their software. I think that obviously lots of partners are using that free software to run their businesses. That's separate from free software you may get for doing like demos for customers and other purposes like development. This is actually software Microsoft gives partners that they can use for running their own actual business, just like customers run their business. And that's the benefit. They decided that, hey, you know what, if you guys are such big fans of our software, selling it, maybe you should pay for it like all of our customers do. So they're going to continue to give us demo environments and development environments to use, but so far as using the product for your own business, you're going to have to pay for that now, just like
everybody
customer
else
does. So kind of up in arms a little bit.
Just a little bit. I saw a petition today, and I know you've seen this. We've been watching over the last couple of days. It's got up to around 4,500. Oh, mate, when you go and dick around with your microphone like that, that makes a little.
Yeah, I was trying to fix it because people are saying I was breaking up.
Who are you breaking up with?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do this for everybody's sake. I'm gonna bag my audio setup here and switch to my headset. So give me just a moment.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
Steve was trying out something new. He had kind of this underground type headset, like a detective from a movie kind of in-ear type setup. But let's see who else. Oh, yeah. That was that question.
All right, I should be back online.
Yeah, you're
now.
back online. We can hear you.
All right, hopefully that took care of the breaking up. And yeah, sorry guys, we definitely seem to be having technical challenges getting this thing put together. But hopefully that was an explanation of IUR Some partners use quite a bit of it. Some partners don't use any of it. I think one of the big areas of leakage, if you will, for Microsoft was what's called Action Pack.
Mm-hmm.
Action Pack was a thing that anybody could buy. You didn't have to be a partner, although by buying it, you became a partner. It was really designed for brand new partners to get started with the channel and give them some software to use at a pretty steep discount.
Mm-hmm.
And you could stack IURs, meaning action packs, meaning a company could actually buy 5 or 6
Oh,
action
I
packs.
had no idea that was the case, that you could buy more than one action pack at a time.
Yeah, you can stack them up, and suddenly
Ah,
you get 5 times as many licenses. And so
okay.
not only were partners using that, but also customers. Lots of customers discovered it, and some of you partners out there may have found when you're talking to some customers every now and then, they're like, "Oh yeah, well we already have internal use rights," and you might be wondering, how the heck do they have internal use
Mm-hmm.
rights? Well, that's probably how they got it. So clearly that was a leaky hole. That one seems like it would have been fixed just by saying, we're getting rid of Action Pack.
So this is the thing,
But
right? This is the thing I heard today, let's say from a source that I can't confirm or deny, that it might have been someone with a blue badge, and they were saying it is absolutely the action pack that is rorting the system. So,
oh
and I
yeah,
was just like, man, I thought you could only get one action pack as a partner, but now that you tell me you can stack them, I betcha there's a shit ton of customers and partners that have just stacked that stuff up nice and high.
you know, uh, it seems to me like the way to have solved that problem would have been just no more Action Pack. But they also took the extra step of, hey, I guess while we're getting rid of this costly, you didn't have to sell anything of Microsoft's to get their software. You just had to pay the highly discounted cost of an Action Pack.
Right.
It's interesting because interesting timing. I actually ran across this post, and I wouldn't say it was out there loud and proud. It was kind of quiet, a little obscure. And I think you got the post, don't you?
Yeah.
You pull up that post
Oh,
for anybody who may have missed it. Oops, sorry about that.
let's bring up a browser here. Let's see what it says. There we go. This is the one you're talking.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how the sentence seems pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, the very first sentence, effective July 2020, they're giving us a year,
Yep.
right? We will retire the internal use rights association with product licenses partners receive in the action pack and included with a competency. There's no ambiguity about
it's
that in my
crystal
mind.
clear.
They're retiring IUR. IUR is
Mhm.
gone. Yet I've had lots of folks following up on my post saying, yes, well, I think this only applies to on-premise or this is everything, but all sorts of interpretations of that one sentence. I think it's just a bunch of wishful thinking out there, but this is gone. Now, the group that controls this is not James Phillips' organization or any of the product groups. They don't have anything to do with this thing. This is coming from MPN, right?
Yeah.
So this is coming out of Gabriella's organization. And I think that the person, actually, I reached out to Gabriella about this, and she directed me to another person that she thought would be better to probably take the heat. And that person, I think, was also a little bit of a shield for Toby Richards. And Toby's going to be on an Ask Me Anything about 3 hours from now. Wherever you are, there's an Ask Me Anything, and Toby's going to be on that. And I'm sure that was scheduled well before this whole thing blew up. So I think his entire Ask Me Anything just turned into an Ask Me One thing. He's just going to get bombarded. It's funny because those Ask Me Anythings, you can post questions in advance on the Ask Me Anything page, and it's just pages and pages of rants about this one particular issue. So, oh yeah, it's going to be a bloody Ask Me Anything for poor Toby. So I apologize in advance for anything I may have contributed to exposing the issue. But frankly, I think Microsoft was clearly kind of hiding from this one a little bit.
Listen, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into WhatsApp there and grab that link in case anybody else is keen to get on that Ask Me Anything session later on today. I know you posted it through to me, Steve, so I'm just pulling that up now, and we'll get that up on screen in case anybody wants to join in. But anyhow, tell me. I see Jason, he's got his pitchfork out. He's at the ready in the chat session there. And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I've
Pitchfork is
what are you saying?
kind of that's gonna. It's not. I don't think Pitchfork are gonna go anywhere here. I think that it's funny because you and I had talked ahead of time about whether or not this might be a topic for our agree to disagree. And I was assuming that, like lots of these folks, you were going to take a position that, oh, this is a horrible thing that Microsoft is doing, and I was going to take the contrary position. But it seemed that both of you and I were in agreement on this as actually not necessarily being a bad move, and not just for Microsoft's part. You know, they've continuously tried to refer people to another post that was written about new benefits coming out. This is the Ask Me Anything, by the way, we're seeing right now. And actually, if you continue to scroll down, you will see where, keep going, here's where they start. So I got 25 people already putting in things, complaining about stuff, and getting, you know, quite animated. And actually, they already shoved off a bunch of these things that responses into some archive, which also made them mad. So they got a pitchfork mob coming in for that Ask Me Anything. You know, I think they've referred, when people have asked about this, they're pointing them to a different post. It was written, I think, on the 19th of May, and I think it was by Toby, about new benefits and alignment. And that's a great post. Of course, it doesn't say anything in that post about, oh, by the way, we're getting rid of your IUR. That was slid out in that other thing you just showed folks in that little one-liner. But they're referring back to that, oh, here, yeah, that was all part of this motion. And aside from them removing the IUR, really, if you look back at that motion, some of the things they're talking about doing are really good things. As a partner who gets and utilizes IUR for our people, and we use it in
sorry, Steve, I just lost you there. Steve, what were you saying about using it internally? I just lost you there.
So we use it internally. We have internal use rights. We're using, I think, quite a few things. We use Office 365 internally. We use Visio, several of the products on internal use rights. Of course, we're using Dynamics for our production instances, of which we have more than one that are, you know, being used on internal use rights. So we're making use of those rights, but I know exactly what those rights are worth. I mean, I know what it costs me to go purchase those things, and so I know what the dollar value of that might be to me. So I got to look at that dollar value and compare it to, okay, Microsoft's taken that away, but they're giving us something else. And the other things that they're doing it's not like they just took something away and said, hey, screw you guys. And lots of partners are out there. Oh, Microsoft doesn't care about partners anymore. Microsoft is a big F you to partners. Well, if all you looked at was that one thing that, hey, they took away IUR, then maybe that's the case. But they're reinvesting what that was going to cost into some other programs. Now, depending on what kind of partner you are, you might not care about those programs. So for you, yeah, it's just a big F you. We're taking something from you and you're getting nothing in return. But in our particular case, some of the things they're talking about investing in our app source and investing more in co-sell. And, you know, we think that's going to be pretty valuable to us. So I'm happy to trade my free software for what's behind door number 2. But I think there's a lot of folks out there, they're looking at door number 2 and say, I don't care about any of that stuff. So for them, it's just trading it for nothing.
I was talking to an ISV earlier today, and they were saying, oh, listen, you know, they're a new ISV startup, not even in market yet, won't happen until later this year. And I said, listen, all those internal user rights benefits that you are counting on are all gone. And he said, well, how much would that be? So he basically took the CDS license and O365 E3. I think we even looked at the E5 for 5 people, which is a startup's projected cost for the first year, and using that, mate, it's only a couple of $100 a month. It's not like it's going to break the bank, right? It's
Yeah.
cost of doing business.
You know what? I think it's
Mm-hmm.
the stacking. It's another stack, or another needle on the stack of things that Microsoft has kind of gradually done
Yeah.
with the partner channel. And I think any one of them individually probably is like, yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's not going to break the bank. But then you start stacking some of these things up that people are complaining about. We look at things like increasing the number of certified people for a competency, increasing revenue goals for a competency, which I think the whole competency concept is a shit show. That whole all of MPN, as far as I'm concerned, was designed for the old way everything used to be done. It was designed for an on-premise world. It was designed for on-premise partners. It was designed for an on-premise Microsoft. Very little of what MPN has today, do I think, translates well to a SaaS business model for either Microsoft or partners. And that was my latest post I sent out yesterday was basically, MPN needs an enema. I mean, that whole thing just needs to be, it really just needs to be ripped and replaced. They've been trying to take that big, enormous, I mean, it's an enormous part of Microsoft.
Did
MPN
someone say
is
there's like
not small.
300,000 partners? Was that a number out there?
I had heard a number tossed around of 600,000 in the past. 600,000 people that are in MPN. Now, there's lots of people in MPN that aren't people we might think of as partners. OEM providers. Lots of people that are MPN. We just talked about potentially a bunch of customers in there with Action Pack that aren't even partners at all. So there's
so
there's
they've set
a big
up a
number
partner
there.
profile, obviously, to get the Action Pack, and that's all they've done. There's no cost to set up a partner profile.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people that are technically Microsoft partners that aren't really Microsoft partners, and you got to know that 80-20 rule is in play there, right? I mean, Microsoft is supporting this enormous infrastructure of MPN for a small percentage of the people that are in it that are actually worth anything to Microsoft. And that may sound cold, but they're not a charity organization. They have to make money, pretty obviously. They don't owe you shit. And if you're not putting back into Microsoft in a value to them at least what you're costing them, then why should they care about you? And it seems like a lot of outrage from partners out there about, oh my God, they took this, I've had this forever. Now they just took it away from me, and they don't owe you shit. And I don't know why people think they do. I see we got a couple other questions
just
in
when
here.
you look at those questions, I just wanted to point out something there, as in, let's consider the economics of this. When Microsoft first offered things like the Action Pack and MSDN access that you could buy under subscription, and then the silver and gold competencies had a chunk of licensing included. That all started when they used to ship it to you on CD. I remember getting the CDs, big box of CDs. Then out came DVD technology, and at least we got reduced down a bit, right? Now I had DVDs with all the software.
Right.
And then, of course, along came SaaS, everything moved online, and so naturally they said, licenses are still here, but of course it's online now, don't need to use on-premise software. But to print some CDs and to print some DVDs and ship them around the world, that's changed for a company like, Microsoft. But to keep the lights on, to cool the servers, to run the CPU, the storage, the memory of 600,000 customers, as in partners, that's a real cost to them. And I reckon it would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars to them as a cost. And they're saying, enough's enough. We can't afford to keep carrying these people that are not delivering, if you like, the same. I liked your point, the 80-20, Pareto's principle. The 80-20 rule is in play here, absolutely. And I can understand they wanted to reduce down.
Oh, I think that they not only want to reduce their cost of partners, but I think we're starting to see some moves for them wanting to reduce their number of partners. You and I are both aware of conversations we've had with Microsoft about the kinds of partners
Mm-hmm.
that they want to recruit, right? So they're actively wanting to recruit. This isn't, I want to get rid of a bunch of partners. This is really, I want to replace a bunch of the existing partners with this new kinds of partners that they're wanting to recruit. And I mean, once you become a partner with Microsoft, I don't think you ever leave the
Yeah.
books. You're just there forever. They don't kick you out of the program. You just stay there on the list, even though you're completely irrelevant to them anymore and what they're trying to do. And I think that part of this is a move to, we don't need 600,000 partners. We don't even need
Mm-hmm.
100,000 partners. We could probably get by with 50,000 partners if they're the right partners for what they're selling today. Well, that's a pretty big shift if they're going to go down that path. So looking at a
Questions?
couple of these questions that have
I like
popped up.
XRM365's comment there. So if you can't reach silver or gold competency, what's the point of being an MS partner? Like you can go out and create your own badge and put gold something or other on it. But honestly,
Yeah,
the 20
right.
years I've been in, as a partner, the silver and gold meant diddly. As it was with the customer was like, what do they mean? Right? It's not for selling. It was purely as a posturing position into Microsoft, not in engaging with customers. So at the end of the day, like, why do I sell Microsoft technology? Because it makes me some good money. It's quite simple. Why would I want to partner with Microsoft? Because it puts bread on my table, it feeds my family, and a roof over my head. And that's kind of probably why I would continue to partner with Microsoft, because they offer fantastic technology. And just like I have my customers pay for that technology, I'm prepared to pay for it myself. Otherwise, I'd be a bit disingenuous in my belief in it. The other one, carry on.
I think his point about the competency though is interesting, because if the only value that you saw to the competency was internal use rights, that was the reason that you sought competency, that's the reason you went for gold competency, was to get more of those internal use rights, and they just took all that away, then there probably isn't a whole lot of point to competency for you. But and to your point of customers don't know what it is, well, if I don't have a competency, I don't bring it up to a customer. They don't know what it is. If I do have a competency, I'm going to make sure that customer understands what that is. So I'm going to take a competency with a customer. I'm going to turn it into an advantage. If I don't have one, I won't. But what Microsoft also does, and you know this as well, is they gate things within Microsoft. There will be programs that are gated that in order to participate in this program, you must be at least a silver competency, or for other programs, you must have a gold competency. So it's not just the IUR benefits, it's their potential to use it as a gate to keep you from other programs that you may or may not want to get into. So let's see some other questions here.
There it is. Can you see it?
There you go.
Kingsway Soft.
Very
and by
nice.
the way, I can't even pull up the right. Sorry, here it is. Kingsway Soft. It's not because they're sponsoring the show. What happened is yesterday I was in London, and we had the user group in London, and there was a big pub quiz going on, and I won it because I knew some stuff about Dynamics. So it was a one shirt.
Yeah.
One yesterday, on today.
So I don't want to skip anybody's questions because I hate when people skip mine. We had, I think we answered CRM Answers. Do you think it's a move from Microsoft to reduce the number of partners, maybe pushing partners that are selling Microsoft products and competitor products to decide stay with us, or better you go elsewhere? Yeah, I mean, I think that, as I said before, I think they want to get the right kind of partner. And so if you're not the right kind of partner, I don't think they care if you go elsewhere. They don't make money just on the quantity of partners. I think that another question here is about SMB. There's a couple of questions on SMB. Yeah, SMB has been such a wild card for Microsoft. Frankly, they built their business on SMB. Office 365 blew up first in SMB. Dynamics 365, frankly, the biggest customer base they've always had has been SMB. All this enterprise talk has been fairly recent, just in the last couple of years, about, geez, I want to get to into that enterprise space because that's where the gold is. But I think that clearly it's hard to say that Microsoft has put an equal emphasis on their SMB customer base going forward that they have on their enterprise. Obviously, they have not. And to that end, partners, same thing. If you're an SMB partner, you're going to have a very difficult time getting their ear. Let's face it, big partners sell big deals, small partners sell small deals. It's as simple as that. Microsoft wants big deals. They do see a difference, I think, between one big deal versus 10 small ones. They'd rather have the one big one, because I know that's always an argument that comes from the SMB side. The other argument that comes from the SMB side is, hey, small partners and small customers become big partners and big customers. Yeah, if we want to wait, but we don't want to wait. We'd rather just go get big partners and get big customers right now. So yeah, I don't know about the future of SMB. I think SMB's future is going to be relegated to ISVs that are focused on SMB and partners that are focused on SMB. I don't see a lot of help from Microsoft, even though Hayden in the podcast talked all about SMB. The walk doesn't match the talk with these guys when it comes to SMB. It hasn't for a couple of years.
Interesting. That is interesting. I was going to bring up that what Hayden said on your podcast, and that it was, that they're going to refocus. But I got to say, you're probably right. They just don't seem to have that focus anywhere in SMB land.
I don't buy it, and I particularly don't buy it from Hayden. Hayden's the top sales dog for business applications across the whole stack. And I think that I look at Hayden, I look at people like Gabrielle up on stage saying these things, and I don't know if they believe what they're saying, and it just isn't happening, or if they just know damn well that I'm just saying this to appease the crowd. But SMB's got a tough road here, particularly SMB partner.
Interesting. So some of the other things that we've had a question come in this week. Shall we go to and have a listen to the question?
Yeah, let's see one of the viewer questions that came in through the forum, right? We got a Microsoft forum out there for people to submit questions in advance.
Just before we go there, can you tell us about anything else that's top of mind at the moment? I just got to shut down some apps running on this machine before we make that switch. So tell us what else is top of mind.
That one leads to so many. I think the whole MPN thing is a fear for all partners right now. I think if Microsoft were to start the company today, of what it is today, I don't know if they'd even have MPN.
Do you reckon they would totally do away with the partner channel?
I don't think they would start with a partner channel. I think the partner, it's funny because, Satya had made that statement here, a year and a half, 2 years ago, that Microsoft is partner led and always will be. And I don't know that they always will be. You look at some of the moves, software becoming more user friendly, citizen developer, a new category we didn't even have a year ago. Suddenly we have citizen developers, no code, low code. All of these things are kind of working against a lot of the partner roles. You look at LSPs who basically don't even provide services. All they do is sell licenses. Well, what is their purpose? Why couldn't Microsoft just sell those licenses? What is the LSP? What is their value add to the equation for Microsoft or the partner? It's similar to distributors. I think distributors, and I know I've talked to some of the distributors in recent times, and they're kind of struggling to figure out what their role is going to be. We got some of the distributors are starting to bring in services because they're not selling boxes anymore. And if you're just a middleman between Microsoft and a small partner and the customer that's just passing licenses across for a fee, it doesn't seem like a lot of value there. And it just seems like if Microsoft took a fraction of what they spend on MPN and invested it instead into direct commerce, game over.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I could see that day. I can see a reality down the road of that's a path that could end up taken where at some point Microsoft partners are not just don't exist. ISVs, yeah, to a degree, there's still gaps there to fill. ISVs will have a space. SIs, sure, helping customers, because I don't see them wanting to grow MCS, to take over the SI role. But as resellers, what do they need anybody to get in between them and selling a license for? Well, they could take your credit card for the customer as easy as you can.
Okay,
so
let's
I don't know.
switch gear. I've shut down some things that are chewing up my CPU and making it a bit laggy. And let's have a look. We've got a question here. What's it called? Question from listeners. So, as always, when we get a question from a listener that is above our pay grade, we phone a friend. So in this case, you're not seeing the question on the YouTube screen? No, I reckon you can see it. There it is. Okay, so there it is. Jake Farrell, he says, what's the difference between ADX 365 portals versus PowerApps portals? Is it a material change or is it an underlying infrastructure, if any? And an example, what type of migration path is needed? So for this question, we went to our good friend, drum roll please.
Hey, Mark and Steve. I understand you had a question from one of your listeners of the PowerApps live show about portals. So here I am today on the shores of Lake Huron in Ontario, Canada. So fundamentally, there really is no difference between the legacy ADX Studio portals or the Dynamics 365 online portals and the new PowerApps portals. All the same structures, the same web templates, entity lists, web pages, all of that. So if you're actually building a portal today using the Dynamics 365 portals, pretty much exactly the same for the PowerApps portals with a couple key differences. First off, portals can now be attached to a blank CDS instance. So you no longer need those first-party apps. So that's the first thing they did, is they decoupled the portals solutions from those first-party apps. So like cases and opportunities and things you don't need for the portals. Second thing that they are doing, which is going to be in public preview very soon, and maybe even by the time this is published, I'm not sure, is the front-end user interface. That front-end interface, you're going to be able to create your entity lists and your web pages and your web templates a lot easier using the PowerApps portal maker experience. So the same place you go in to create Canvas apps or model-driven apps, you're able to create portal apps as well. But at the end of the day, it's all the same behind the scenes, same structure. So to migrate that, if you use something like from the XRM Toolbox, the portals records mover, that should probably be able to move from those legacy portals to the new portals. Might be a few other little things that we're going to discover as we go along, but for the most part, everything's the same. Your knowledge is intact. I would check out the MS Learn. I think we'll try to get those links in there. Check out my Refresh the Cache podcast, that Colin Vermander and I do. Also my blog at readyxrm.blog, Colin Vermander's blog, and also Nicholas Haydu, Engineered Code, are some good blogs that talk about the new changes with the portals and the PowerApps portals. Thanks a lot. Hope that answers the questions, and have a great day and have a great show, Mark and Steve.
Awesome. So that was great, and Nick to kind of record that for us, right on point. Had some lovely waves happening in the background there. If you have a question, make sure that you submit it during the week to bit.ly. And I forget what the rest of it was. What was it?
Power Up Live
questions. That's it.
Like
I was watching the record and I was like, Okay. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, Nick would be the guy to ask that question to, and of course hopefully he gave a great answer. That's I think the difference between the live chat here on what we're doing versus filling in that form. If you ask a question on the live chat here, all you're going to get is an answer from one of us, which may or may not be correct. But if you really want a good answer, go ask it on that forum, and we'll reach out to one of our buddies that we know would actually know that answer. I see we have a poll going on of who
I don't know
we
who
agree
put that
with.
poll up, so I'm going to vote on it. I'm going to go with NZ.
Streamlabs. Hey, wait a minute.
There we go. I don't know who put that poll up. So it's SM for Steve Mordue, NZ for me.
I know let's
see what happens.
We created, I think that poll was created for our agree to disagree segment, which we ended up this week both agreeing on the hottest topic, so we didn't have anything good for an agree to disagree. But hopefully we'll come up with something good by the next episode to disagree on. So we also were going to create a new segment called From the Pods, where Mark and I were each going to go back to a podcast that we had with somebody and kind of pluck out an interesting audio quote. We didn't have time to put that together this week, but expect that next week. But we can still talk about a couple of the recent podcasts. I've got the most recent one that I did. I interviewed Muhammad Alam, who runs basically F&O. And now, of course, Business Central has been pulled under his umbrella. I haven't published that one yet. It'll probably be published. Basically, Microsoft Marketing is listening to it to make sure there isn't anything they don't want to say.
They had to vet yours, eh?
Well, I tell you, one of the ways I've been able to get some of those key people, to play along is that if, I'll give them a chance to have a listen. Because I'm not like an investigative reporter here trying to catch Microsoft in something that, So I give them a chance to listen to it. If there's anything that they're thinking, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'll say so far with all of them that I've done, which is quite a few so far, nobody's ever come back with any changes. So they've all been pretty confident. But I want to give them that chance to. I don't want anybody getting themselves in hot water.
I've never submitted mine. I never have given them that option. So and nobody's had an issue. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you specifically engage marketing or something around yours to get approval, or?
No, I mean I do these phone calls as they sound, but people inside of Microsoft now, since I've done enough of them, are kind of hip that they may be getting a call. It's funny because the first couple I did clearly caught people completely off guard, but now as soon as they know who's calling, they're all like, okay, I know what this is about. So they get their game face on, but they definitely don't have. There's no pre-topics or anything off limits or anything. It's just a chat. And Mohammed was pretty interesting. He definitely went into lots of different areas about lots of different things that I think are broader than just F&O. We talked about things like the coming together of the PowerApps canvas and model. Lots of things. He definitely has he's been there quite a while and knows that stack. He really got a load handed to him with Business Central coming over into his lap. Was very lucky to get Mike Ehrenberg, a Microsoft fellow, and one of the key guys on business applications to step up and kind of grab the reins of that while they look for somebody. And I did pose the question to him about the possibility in the future of kind of F&O and Business Central becoming a single product and not having more than one. And people are going to have to listen to that episode to get his answer.
I was quite surprised, shocked, as what you told me. He said that was a surprise. So it'll definitely be one to listen to. One I've got coming up, going live next week. I recorded it back a bit, which is Steve Guggenheim. So of course we jump into the ISV things in detail. That's due to go live next Tuesday, I'm going to say, which is kind of. It gave him a chance to make his announcements next Monday at what do you call that big partner event? I forget it now. Ready. So he's done. He would have said his bit at Ready, and then we'll Inspire.
Oh, Inspire. You mean Inspire?
That's it. So in Vegas, right? The Vegas show. So he'll get that kind of out there, and then basically my podcast comes out. It's a very interesting podcast, I got to say, as in from the recording perspective. And the reason I say this is that he pretty much did something else the entire time that we did the podcast. He's got sticky tape out and he's boxing boxes and he's like packing, like moving stuff around, and and just like all over like I could hear it. He's walking to the other side of the room. He obviously must have a wireless headset on.
Yep.
And then at one point, honestly, it sounded like a train was going through, just like, and he was like, you know, and I was like, mate, listen, I'm gonna have to take that whole slot again because I have no idea what you said. This massive noise. He's like, oh yeah, tractor just went past. Like, what? You didn't hear that? Like, he was like, yeah, the window's open. I'll shut the window, eh? I'm like, yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
I think what would be interesting is, some of these folks that we've both interviewed at different points in time is to kind of queue them up back to back and see what their stories have changed. Because I interviewed Googs, I don't know, a long time ago, and now you've got a fresh one coming out. A lot's happened between the time I talked to him and when you just talked to him, and it'd be interesting to kind of listen to them back to back and see what stories have changed and what just evolved. I will say one thing about Googs. I do appreciate that he doesn't really beat around the bush. If Googs was responsible for the elimination of IUR announcement, it would have gone completely differentely. He'd have stood up on a podium and said, "We're getting rid of IUR. You don't like it? Tough shit."
Yeah.
Yes, suck it up. Move on. Next question, please. He really doesn't. He doesn't suffer fools, and he doesn't worry about the backlash where a lot of the other Microsoft folks that we talk to, they pussyfoot around. Gabriella is great, but Gabriella never says anything that anybody would be upset about because she just won't say anything that'll upset anybody. And when she even comes close to saying something upsetting, she does it with a chuckle, where you are trying to realize, was that an upsetting thing she said? I can't figure it out. They're very
Diplomatic.
Diplomatic in how they put the news out. But frankly, I'm running a business here. I don't have patience or interest in diplomacy. Don't go hiding bad news from me. Don't sugarcoat it. If it's coming, I just need to know. I prefer the Googs method of, hey, this is what it is. It sucks for you. Sorry. Take it or leave it. Move on. At least then you know where you stand.
No, agreed. Anyhow, that's live, and of course, big conference next week. I'm not attending. What about yourself?
So next week, actually, I originally had planned to attend as much as I didn't want to, and nothing about Inspire. It's just that it's in freaking Vegas in July, and I was there last year, and it was, 120 degrees in the shade. It was a miserable place to have a conference at that time of year. A great place to have a conference, but wrong time of year. I'd understood that Microsoft had signed a 5-year deal out there, so Inspire's going to be there for a while. And I brought my wife last year, and it was just brutal, the weather. So I was almost looking for an excuse not to go. And my niece is getting married, wouldn't you know it? So I'm going to my niece's wedding.
You're a good man. You're a good man. You got your priorities right.
Yes. Exactly. So the interesting thing is the way we're going is we're taking a motorhome. My wife and I are going to rent a motorhome with her new little frou-frou dog, and we're going to drive from Tampa through New Orleans and out to the weddings in Houston. We're going to go hit Austin and San Antonio, and so this will be our first trip in a 38-foot, a big ass motorhome bus. So that'll be so next week I'll be doing this. I'll be broadcasting, I think, live from San Antonio, sitting in a motorhome. So that'll be last week Key West. Now I'm home again. Next week it'll be San Antonio. So you just never know.
Life of leisure by the sounds to me. Listen, if you're interested in catching up with Steve and me, we're going to be in where we're going to be. We're going to be around Orlando. We're going to be in Orlando for. Of course, the user group summit. So it's going to be a great time. They generally have a massive turnout. It was great last year in Phoenix, this year in Orlando. And they've asked Steve and I to put on a pub quiz. Bring the beers, bring the bevies, and as I would say, the chili bin with the Eskies in it. The esky, the chili. Yeah, there's two Australian and Kiwi words getting mixed up there. The cooler, I think you guys call it in America. Bring the cooler with the beers. And of course, lots of prizes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Say that again. Oops, there you go. You're back to split screen.
It's like it's going to be on this.
Yeah, we're going to
It's going to be
stream
on
it
the same
up. You
channel
know,
as we're on right
hopefully
now.
it'll be on the same channel. Hopefully, with a bit quality audio that we've had today, but of technical issues. Emma Darcy, she's asked here. She said it's her first time going to the big event, and she hates the heat. Emma's Irish, comes from the Green Isle.
There you go.
She's what has she said here? So it's new to Inspire, and any recommendations that you'd give her?
You know, it's interesting. I don't know about you, but I think that we because of where we're sitting at the moment with MVP stuff, we kind of got a lot of information already. You know, still NDA can't talk about, but a lot of the information that we've already been given and discussed with Microsoft is going to be revealed at Inspire. So I would say it depends on where you sit. If you're not if you're not an MVP, which most people aren't, then you're going to want to go there and learn a lot of stuff.
I think Emma is pre-MVP at the moment. She's on her way there, doing lots of
on the track,
good stuff.
Nice.
She works for Click Dimensions. And yeah.
Well, then she'll definitely learn a lot of stuff there, and there'll be lots of sessions. You know, there's going to be, I don't know what, 15 or 20,000 people there. It's our biggest event of the year. They're doing it at the Mandalay Bay. One of my recommendations is, if you're not staying at the Mandalay Bay, make sure you're staying at a hotel that is at least connected to the Mandalay Bay by a sky bridge or something.
So you can stay out of the heat, right?
So then you don't need to go in the heat at all. I don't know what they're going to do about the partner celebration. Has always been, you know, a pretty big event too. I think who's coming this year? Queen. I think Queen is the entertainment for the partner celebration. Last year it was Bruno Mars, and they did it at the Speedway, which was a huge outdoor venue in the heat, which we passed on that because that just seemed, that would be horrible. I don't know where they're doing it this year.
Just back up. You say Queen. Is it the real Queen? Is it just the real Queen minus Freddie Mercury, or what?
Well, you know, Freddie Mercury was replaced now. Of course, the new guy, Adam Lambert, has taken Freddie Mercury's spot.
I didn't realize that. Well, I kind of
so
it's
Queen,
coming back to me,
Queen,
but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Queen continues to play sans Freddie Mercury, and instead Adam Lambert, who I have not seen them, but I've heard that he does a pretty darn good job for them. And so that's going to be the headline show out there.
Are they creating new content, or is it? I mean, the thing is, how would you create anything on par with, you know, what Freddie did? He had a lot of the genius in there. Even though since seeing the movie, I see a lot of the other guys were massively, contributors as well, of course.
You know, to be honest, it's all I can do just to keep up with all of your podcasts. So I don't really have time to listen to music anymore. I just I've got NZ365 guy there on the old pod all day long.
Got new stickers.
Oh, nice.
These ones are bigger. These are
bigger.
Yeah. I had a size issue.
Are we all fighting?
See, these are bigger than my phone. These ones. These ones are to stick on that wall I was telling you about when we get to. What's that place called? Orlando.
Probably not big enough for that. It looks like, I think
this
all you guys with this sticker fetish, you're all battling for the biggest sticker on the back of the laptops, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have the the biggest sticker on the back of everybody's laptop
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
I need to come up with a sticker. Apparently,
You do. I think you could come up with a good bald guy rendition or something like that. It could work quite well.
So Malaretti,
Mhm.
if I'm pronouncing that
Yeah.
right, says, Steve, you mentioned Microsoft looking to minimize the partners. Is that part of MVP insights shared with all MVPs? Nah, I think that's just part of looking at what's happening. Nothing has been shared with me as an MVP officially along the lines of, hey, we're looking to cut down on the number of partners or minimize the number or anything like that. That's just my observation of just looking at my reading of the tea
Yeah.
leaves, my personal reading of the tea leaves. I think Mark's in agreement. He's seeing those tea leaves the same way I am. I think a lot of partners are probably, it's fairly clear if you step back 10 feet away from the situation and look
Yeah.
at it, that there's definitely motion from Microsoft to reconstitute the partner makeup in real time.
Yeah.
You know, they got a great big moving train with a lot of cars on it. They'd like to replace that train with a smaller bullet train while it's
Yeah.
moving. It'd be interesting to see them do that.
Mate, it sure will. It sure will. Well, is there anything else that you want to add? I can't think if there's anything else on our agenda. We've covered most things. Oops, Siri keeps liking talking to me on my watch there, but turn that off. Anything else top of mind, Steve?
I did notice that Bacon Bites had asked something about whether or not these competency changes would impact SMB customers, and I don't know if that was intentional, but this doesn't have anything to do with customers. Competencies strictly as a partner-related thing, so it shouldn't have anything to do with customers, other than potentially customers who tried to use Action Pack. I think it's certainly gonna impact them.
Yeah, which are not really. I mean, anybody on an Action Pack weren't really prime-time partners from Microsoft's perspective.
It was the tool for partners that couldn't achieve a competency. And up until a few years ago, it didn't take that much to achieve a competency. I mean, you could become a silver partner with, 2 people and a few deals. Poof, you were silver.
Yeah.
So the Action Pack was for people that couldn't even meet that low bar, which really, in my mind, was probably more, one person ops or just startups, just brand new to the space. Raising that bar significantly this last year. Right now, you got to have 5 certified people who've taken multiple tests just to get to silver, and revenue thresholds up. It almost seems like Action Pack makes more sense now than it did before, but they, just like Microsoft, right? They put a bunch of paper licenses around stuff and make people promise that they'll do right, and then stand back all shocked and aghast when people don't follow the rules. Same thing happened with Action Pack. So I would have liked to have seen them rip Action Pack and revise. To be honest, I got way more IUR than we even need. I mean, I've got like, I don't know, 150. We 22 people in our organization. I got like 150 seats of everything. I don't even need all these seats. So I mean, I got a ton of Azure credits that we don't use for anything. I think they could have looked at the program, eliminate Action Pack, and then look at actually what they're giving people. And probably could have gotten rid of a lot of unused IUR. But they decided to rip that Band-Aid.
I like it. Alrighty. Well, with
that, looks like we've murdered another hour.
We'll stand off and we'll close out the show. Thanks for everybody for attending. Remember, every Wednesday, same time, we'll be back here with another show. Send in your questions, and we will do our best to answer them. But without further ado,
hopefully we're getting better each week.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get the tech, so the tech becomes a non-issue. At the moment, it's our little bane, as in there's so many moving parts. But anyhow, we'll get past it and we'll get better. Cheers, Steve.